Welcome to Test Dive, conference organized by Nokia.
Hello, everyone. Do you sometimes think of the past? I assume that most of you remember 2000s or 2010s, but is there anyone in this room who remembers 80s? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Oh, yes, I can see a couple of hands. I can see also some liars because you don't remember things when you're 2 years old, but thank you for raising a hand. Yeah, life was completely different back at that time. And it's not the conversation whether it was better or worse, because it depends on the context, right? But can you imagine that I remember the life with no mobiles and no internet? How scary is that, huh? So, since I'm getting older, my national insurance number, so-called PESEL in Polish, starts to make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I become a little bit more sentimental, a little bit more nostalgic. What actually nostalgia is? Nostalgia is a sense of sentimentality for the past, especially for a period of time or places with happy personal associations. I believe that thinking of the past brings back childhood memories with free or no responsibilities, but for sure with no tests, bugs, escalations, prompts, deadlines, ASAPs, and more. So I'd like to take you on a journey today. Who recognizes this one behind me? Ah, super team. It's a DeLorean from Back to the Future, 1985. So I'd like to take you on a journey and we'll be going backwards. And we won't subtract too many years. Let's say 21, would that be okay? And just like this, pomóż. Okay, thank you. Okay, hello everyone and welcome in 2003. Now, what's up in 2003? We take on Mars. NASA Mars Exploration Rover mission kicks off with the launch of the Spirit rover. What else? Google launches iTunes, AdSense, to feed us with more targeted ads, I believe. Also, Apple opens iTunes Music Store and launches third generation of iPods with this funny round little thing called the touch wheel. And also this year, MySpace starts. And as a curiosity, Facebook is going to be open in an upcoming year, 2004. Let's turn on the radio. What do we hear?
Shake that thing, miss. Kinda shake that thing, miss.
Paint, Linkin Park.
Yes,
Crazy Love.
so crazy right now. Go, 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 go.
Okay. How about the sport? This guy behind me, Michael Jordan, plays his last match for the NBA. So this is the last dance for Air Jordan. And at the same year, LeBron James is drafted with the number 1 for his hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe he led them to the championships in 2006 or something. 16, sorry. This guy behind me, Roger Federer, wins his first Grand Slam. And today, I believe he's got like 20 of them. And this young fellow, aged 16, Lionel Messi, plays his debut for FC Barcelona. Let's go to the cinema. Who's got kids? I love this one. It's ever timely, right? Finding Nemo. We've got Pirates of the Caribbean with an amazing creation of Captain Jack Sparrow played by Johnny Depp. And Return of the King, so Lord of the Rings. So, do you feel where we are? Right? This 2003 atmosphere? So, it's 2003. More precisely, January 16th, 2003. The weather is cold, a little bit windy, but sunny actually. We are at the Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island, Florida. Kennedy Space Center is one of 10 fields NASA center, and since 1968 it's a primary launch for a human spacecraft. It's 10:39 a.m. and everyone feels something big is happening. In front of our eyes, Columbia Space Shuttle launches with its crew of 7 to the low orbit. Columbia has been the first shuttle, firstly launched in 1981, and it's been on 27 missions prior to this one. While the other missions were completely devoted to researchers to Hubble telescope or an international space center, this one was one of the pure scientific research. Their objective was to study the effects of microgravity on human bodies and on ants and spiders they took with them. The launch proceeds as normal. Crew settle into their mission. Now they are going to spend 16 days in orbit, completing 80 experiments. At 82 seconds into the launch, as the shuttle rose with 29,000 kilometers per hour, a piece of insulating foam, so-called SOFI, fell off and broke from its main fuel tank. It has collided with one of the tiles of the other edge of the left wing. As a matter of the protocol, NASA reviewed the footage from the external camera. What actually is SOFI? SOFI is an insulating foam that is used, not surprisingly, to insulate the tank so ice cannot form when it's full of liquid hydrogen. Because if ice was about to form, it could break off and damage the shuttle during lift and re-entry. And foam falling down was nothing new. It has happened on 4 missions prior to this one, and was one of the reasons actually why camera was mounted there. But the tile that the foam had struck was designed to protect the shuttle against the heat from the Earth atmosphere. So, in space, the shuttle was safe, but nobody could say how it would respond to the re-entry. There were a couple of options. The most reasonable seemed to be, or NASA could launch another space shuttle to evacuate people, so to pick the crew up. But I also believe this one is also the most expensive one. Or the astronauts could perform a spacewalk for a visual investigation of the hull. Or NASA could risk re-entry of the shuttle. NASA officials sat down with Boeing engineers who took them through 3 reports, a total of 28 slides. Now, the silent point was that there was data proving that the tile could withstand being hit by the foam. But I assume that most or some of you are testers, so you know that tests, they depend on many factors. Test planning, quality of tests, tools that are being used, bugs, you'd say as well. But also very important ones are test environment and test conditions. So the silent main point was that the tile could withstand being hit by the foam, but this was based on a test conditions more than 600 times smaller than the one that had struck Columbia. So the question to answer is, would Columbia survive re-entry into Earth atmosphere, or would the wing damage cause the spacecraft to be torn apart? This is the slide that is being presented to the NASA officials. Now, as with the first eye glimpse, you can see that it's quite heavy, a bit overloaded. We don't see much of it. But what we see is that the test data indicates conservatism for tile penetration, which means that the tile could withstand being hit by the foam. That wasn't the most important fact about this slide, but placing it in the upfront, in the middle, makes it the summary of the slide and makes the other messages to be lost almost immediately. Now, when I'm looking at this slide, I have an observation that this is a very common issue we experience today in IT. We have very clever people, big heads, right? Programmers, testers, engineers, and so on and so forth. But if it comes to present the ideas, not only through PowerPoints, if it comes to convey a message, share knowledge, then sometimes we hit the snag. Houston, we've got a problem. I'm not even saying that those slides sometimes make no sense for non-technical audience, but sometimes they make no sense even for technical ones. So NASA officials understood that being engineers weren't sure what is going to happen, but the data pointed there proved that the life of the crew was not in danger. So they rejected the other options and they pushed ahead with a Columbia re-entering the Earth atmosphere. So Columbia was scheduled as normal for the 1st February 2003. At 9 a.m., 80,000 kilometers above Dallas, with 29 times the speed of sound, the temperature readings on the left wing were abnormally high, and then they were lost. The tires' pressure were soon lost, as was the communication with the crew. At 9:13, as Columbia should have been approaching the runway, the residents near Dallas reports that the shuttle had been seen disintegrating. Columbia was lost, and with it, her crew of 7. The oldest crew member was 48. The shuttle program was on a lockdown, grounded for 2 years, as the investigation began. The cause of this catastrophe became clear. The tile being hit by the foam led the shuttle to dangerously overheat until the shuttle disintegrated. But this is also a question, why this type of slide has been presented to the officials. Why? Because Edward Toft, a professor from the Yale University and an expert in communication, reviewed this slideshow, and his findings are very profound. Let's analyze it together. Let's have a closer look. So first, what we see is a title and a header, which is obvious because those are written with the biggest font size. So in theory, this is the place that the most important information should be placed, right? But it doesn't happen in this situation. It has a misleadingly reassuring title that the tile could withstand being hit by the foam. And this actually makes losing all the information that is behind it. Also, secondly, there are 4 bullet points with no explanation of what do they mean. Is a bullet point number 1 the most important? Do bullet points become less or more important? Or together with bullet points and indents, there has been 6 levels of hierarchy being created. It means that interpretation is left up to the reader. There is a lot of space of interpretation. It doesn't help that there is also a font size changes. Sophie and ramp, they both mean the same. Foam, so vague terms are being used. Sufficient is used once. Significant or significantly couple of times with no or just a low quantifiable data. So how significant it is? Is it a statistical significance you mean or something else? Then finally, the most important part of the slide, showing that the test conditions are significantly outside of what happened and occurred on the shuttle. It's placed at the very bottom. 12 little words that the audience has to wade through more than 100 to get to, if even managed to do so. The board reviews the endemic, so very generic use of PowerPoint briefing slides instead of technical papers as an illustration of the problematic methods of technical communication at NASA. So as you can see, it's not only technical reason of this catastrophe, so not only the foam that hit the tile, but also a human factor, the way the data has been presented. So is it important the way that you present the data? Rhetorical question. How about presenting a slide like this? The foam strike more than 600 times bigger than test data. Maybe NASA would understand. Maybe they wouldn't attend the re-entry. Today, while giving this speech, we think of Columbia crew and their families. And at the same time, we must be aware that PowerPoint may kill, sometimes literally. Okay, now as you think you've seen the worst, and it cannot get any worse than that, please take your cameras, scan the QR code, and we're going to vote for the worst slide ever. Ladies and gentlemen, number 1. Oh, that's a pretty bad one. You can get lost between those arrows. And this one actually has been used for the military. Number 2. This one got stuck in 80s. Pretty bad one. Now you're going to be familiar with number 3. Ooh, overloaded. And this is an eye-torturing method, number 4. And the winner is? 4? Yes, thank you. Number 4, yay, or not. I can assure you that if you present a slide like this one, 90% of what you've said will be gone within 90 seconds. And maybe for some of you, this 90% is not a bad score, because if I've seen the slide like this, I'd rather forget 100% of what I've seen. But when we present, when we share our knowledge, ideas, when we conduct the meetings, would we rather be listened or forgotten? Rhetorical question. There are 300 billion PowerPoint users, and they create 30 billion presentations each day. Now, at this hour, while I am giving this speech, 1 million presentations are being created. And now listen to that. 50% of them are unbearable. And that means that 15 billion presentations daily are very, very bad. So as you can see, the problem is very common. So my objective is to give you 5 principles of presenting data in PowerPoint that will make a tremendous difference. If you haven't used them in practice previously, they will make a difference from the first slide you'll be presenting. So the rule number 1 idea per slide. Why should we have only 1 idea per slide? Let me tell you a story. You are at the house party, you're sipping a beer, talking with your friend, you're chatting about test automation, when this girl enters the room. You like her a lot. And she's wearing a red dress, an absolute attention grabber. Do you still listening to your friend and the test automation? No, not really. Now your attention is diverted between your friend, where you nod, hoping that you're nodding in the right moment, and this girl. And the worst is yet to come, because the girl leaves the room, you come back to your friend and you face the question, well, don't you agree? Yeah. So this is what happens when you have more than 1 idea per slide. It leads to the cognitive overload. As simple as it is. I understand that you have this wonderful data to be presented. You have this great idea that you need to share through the slide, and that's absolutely fine with me. Just skip to another slide. Rule number 2. Size matters. So as you can see at this slide, your eyes are a little bit everywhere, right? But you have this hint from PowerPoint, because every template is built like this, that the header is the biggest object of the slide, followed with the smaller part of the content. So why are we so rebellious towards PowerPoint? If you'd like to act in opposite to your biological reactions, okay, then play with the size. Here on the slide, we've got eyes everywhere. Here, it's a proper version where the most important fact is highlighted with the biggest font size. And if we'd like to act in opposite, let's make the body, the content, the most important and the biggest. Rule number 3, 6 lines. Why 6 lines are an optimum for the slide design? Because if you follow the rule that the header is around 40 points, followed by the subtitle around 30 points, then aesthetically and physically it's almost impossible to place more than 6 lines, because you have to follow the content with around 16 points. And if you follow the rule like this, you won't place there more than 6 lines. So how many lines is the optimum for the slide? That's right, 6 lines. Give them the value. And to give them the value, you have to know what's them and what value is. Now, them stands for the audience. Knowing your audience gives you a lot of advantages. And there are not too many situations that you cannot get information about the people that you're going to be speaking to. So you make the profile of your audience, and then you can choose a correct language, level of expertise, or even a tone of voice that you will be using. And if you do so, that will resonate even more with people you're presenting ideas or data. But then what's the value of your presentation? The value of your presentation is not the brilliant idea I would like to share with the world. It's not what you have in your mind and the message you want really to convey. The value of your presentation is a solution that you can provide to your audience to fix their problems. The value of your presentation is a solution you can offer to people you're speaking to. Because the presenter, the speaker, should never think through his own prisms, unless what I can offer to my audience. The audience spends, I believe, the most valuable resource nowadays, their time, to listen to your presentation. But at the same time, it's a barter. They expect something in exchange. This is why you have to give them the value. Rule number 5, contrast. And regarding contrast, I wouldn't like to tell you about your slide design. But at the same time, I don't want to commit a curse of knowledge, assuming that you know something that you might not know. So with a contrast, there is nothing more annoying with a white-colored background and very light font, and at the same time, dark-colored background and dark fonts. These are more likely eye-torturing methods, and if you treat your audience with an utmost respect, as you're supposed to be doing, you don't do this way. With the contrast, I'd like to show you how you can control the attention of your audience. How can you present the data you want to present at this time? So like this, eyes are everywhere. Here, we made it bold, but is that the best we can do? Yeah, we can go step by step, and your eyes are going exactly where I would like them to go. Does this work with the tables? Yes, it does. We can highlight the data we'd like to present for them to be more visible. So once you understand and you remember those 5 rules, one idea per slide, size matters, 6 lines, value, and a contrast, you will find out that this is just a toolkit. This is just an ad. Because the presentation is you. You who are presenting, you are your presentation. And this is just a background helper to emphasize your ideas. So remember that the PowerPoint may kill, sometimes literally. Don't eclipse your great ideas being killed by the curse of death of PowerPoint syndrome. Let's present the data in the most captivating way, and let's together decrease the number of a death by PowerPoint syndrome. Thank you for your attention. If you could go back once again to the last slide, thank you. That's the way you can reach me out on the LinkedIn, that I strongly encourage you to do so. And if you have any questions, here I am for you. Yes. Mamy?
Dziękuję bardzo. Mam na imię Piotr i mam... should I speak English? I will try, yeah, I will try my best.
Okay.
There are 2 things I would like to ask for. The first is the title of this presentation. You highlighted that it was some sort of purpose, that someone has done a special presentation. It's my opinion only. You will discuss with that probably. And this purpose was realized in the death of people. So the same we could say that every arm, every weapon arm, like gun or machine gun, it was done for killing, but it is not true. It is also for a threatening of the offender, let's say. The other thing is that there are two parts of your presentation. One is about some dramatic act, yes, caused because of the slide. And the other part is very useful for those who will prepare the slide presentation in the future or in that time. And the question about the first part, do you think in this percentage you've shown of the part or the total number of presentations of slides in PowerPoint is done by intention of harm to somebody? And if it is normal thing, how can we prevent of that? Yeah, how, do we have any tools to foresee that it can harm anybody? Because normally in your second part you showed something which is completely free from emotions. Yeah, it shouldn't invoke anything. This particular slide you showed at the beginning also shouldn't evoke any emotions. But afterwards, we can talk about that and see who can be blamed for showing that, and so on and so on. We have actually in our times we have also some sort of let's say investigations and the reports which can evoke the same problem, yeah, the same question.
Let me thank you for your questions. Let me answer to the first part. Well, I would rather believe that the word is made like this, that we don't want to make any harm through our presentations. And that is what I would like to believe. There's also one more thing, that this slide that has caused and helped to this catastrophe, which is like the very bad slide, it wasn't made in purpose. I believe that it was made accidentally. It was a mistake overall. And this is what I would like to emphasize, that the data that you will be presenting, data really matters. And the way you're going to present them may cause some other issues. Maybe they won't be so serious as once, but they might be very serious in your organizations, in your daily work, on every other area you will be presenting the data, right? So not in purpose, that's for sure, I want to believe it, but at the same time, it's very important the way you present the slides. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Hi, I'm Adam. To make some contrast, could you show us the slide we were talking about a few words ago? And what would we do to make the data on the slide to be more professional?
What do you mean by saying professional? Visible or professional?
I mean, because the data which was presented on the NASA PowerPoint was presented in a way that the stakeholders or business understood it the not right way it should be.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, thank you. I think that I get what you mean. So I believe that the most important fact is to follow those 5 rules that I've presented to you. First, the most important thing is that the biggest part of your slide should be the most important, full stop. If there weren't so many mistakes, so many bullet points, vague terms that being used, the data and the most important information hidden at the very bottom, maybe you would have a different situation. So I believe that the most important fact of creation of the slides is to follow these 5 principles that I gave you. So 1 idea per slide, size matters, contrast, value, And I think that would work for you. And 6 lines, sorry. Everyone was counting. Oh, there's 4, not 5. Okay, any more questions? Thank you very much for your attention. That was my pleasure.